we only go about 45 degrees or so, this edge is actually the one on the top. So we're going almost 90 degrees, and it's already starting to collapse on itself. Now, you guys know why that's happening? Well, there's no proper direction for the path for the edges to travel. So watch this. I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to detach it. Okay, we're going to detach it to a new element, which means now there's actually holes in here, right? It's not welded anymore. There's a hole at the front and a hole at the back. That's good. We want that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an edge and ring it, and we're going to add some connectors in here. Now, the amount of connectors we add essentially doesn't matter. I'm going to add 30. That, as you can see, is a really nice amount that go all the way down. They're evenly spaced too, which is really nice. So I'm going to say OK. And now, again, the problem here is that I can't rotate this. I'll have to use the inner one here because I won't be able to grab the outer one. But again, if I rotate this, we're just rotating that one band, right? And I need my rotation to happen all the way through. So what I'll do is I'll select the outer barrel and I'll detach it as a different piece. And now my barrel is actually just this piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a twist modifier on here. Now the twist modifier is going to allow me to twist this thing all the way down the length of the barrel. Now the angle that we need is shy of 360 if we look at this here, right? 360 would be all the way back around to here. And so it looks like we're actually going 180, right? This is the upper right and this one's in the bottom left. So let's do a rotation angle of 180. Look at that. We now have rifling. You follow the edge that travels all the way around the barrel. Now, it's still, if I convert this to an edible poly, right now there's no smoothing groups on anything, and I make it smooth. I'll attach these things together again here, isolate them, and we'll make this all one smoothing group. Clear all in one. Okay. So if we look at what's going on here, there's rifling in the barrel, but we can't see it. Right? There's a full 180 spin on those vertices, but it's still perfectly flat. It doesn't matter that the edges go on angles or perfectly straight. If it's still perfectly flat, it's still perfectly flat. So we can't actually see the rifling, which means it might as well not even be there. So what I need to do is I need to fix that. So first, let's weld these holes back up. Now the reason that 180 spin was really, really nice is that it made the vertices line up exactly where they were originally. So when I hit weld, we end up with, again, closed cylinder that now has this twist going on in the middle. The next thing that I need to do is I need to now go and create the rifling. I need to actually extrude these things out. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an edge. I'm going to skip 1, 2, and grab the next one. Skip 1, 2, grab the next one. 1, 2, and the next one. 1, 2, and the next one. 1, 2, and the next one. And that should leave 1, 2 before I go back to this one, right? So we now have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 evenly spaced edges. I'm going to ring them so they curl all the way through and convert my selection to polygons.
Does it go out? It doesn't go outside? Yeah.
It does go outside. Very astute. So let's fix that. I'm just going to hold Alt and deselect the outside. And now it's just on the inside. So what I'll do is I'm going to add a little bit of a bevel to this, and we'll do by local normal, and let's reset the numbers so it doesn't go mental. Now the height, we're going to go forward, right? If I turn my wireframe off and F2 off, you can see that's now giving it a little bit, it's 0.01 centimeters outwards. That's good. And then we can go bigger or smaller, and I'm actually going to go smaller with this. We'll go 0.025. And I'll say OK. So if we look at this now, look at that. We now have rifling down our barrel. Doesn't look so good, right, our barrel? It's all warpity and ugly looking, and, you know, in fact, if I go and put this one smoothing group back on everything, that's not the look we're going for. But again, it's supposed to be high poly. We're supposed to be turbo smoothing this. So if I go put the turbo smooth modifier on and give it 2 iterations, so we're at iteration number 3, you can see that we start getting a really worse shape. But we don't have any support edges on, which is our next task. So I'm going to turn on ice line display so I can see my original topology. And now I'll go in and start adding my support loops. So let's do the front of the barrel first. So I'm going to select all the edges in a ring all the way around. I'll use connect. We don't need 30 edges, that's overkill. I'll use 2, and I'll split them up to about the 98% and say OK. I'll do the same on the outside here. Connect. I don't have to set the settings anymore, they're in there automatically. Connect. And I'll do the back of the barrel. Connect. So far so good. Let's take a look at what it's looking like now. So I would think that this is maybe a little too sharp of an angle. I don't know, maybe it's okay. So if I look at it like this, there's a very clear and definite step that's happening there. Now I can really go and play with exactly how strong that step is by just moving these things. Now because there's a bevel on the barrel, I need to turn my edge constraints off, but you can see I can change how sharp that bevel is by how close the supporting edge is. And so I'm going to move it out a little bit. I'll do the same thing with the one in the back. So my edge is on here, and we'll do something like that. I think that's going to read a little bit better. I don't think it's supposed to be a major change in shape. I think like that it definitely does step down, but I don't want to be a hard edge here. I want it to very much look like it was machined. So let's look at our rifling and see how that's going. So the rifling's not bad, but it's not very sharp. It looks very soft and subdued, right? Whereas this one, like that's almost like a knife blade. Like it's got to grip the bullet and spin the bullet. So it does need to be sharper. And in fact, when you look at these things here, which are kind of what the rifling should look like, you know, there is a hard edge on that rifling. Now this is a little bit of an overkill and a lot stronger, but if we look at this one, you know, up close and a real one here, these are real hard edges all the way along. Again, they're supposed to be kind of knife-like and grip the bullet. So that means I need to make these more knife-like. So I'll grab this edge and ring it and connect it. If I get out of here and turn off my wireframe, we now have a nice cleaner edge on that one. You can see that in the front here, it's gotten round and softy, which doesn't look so good. So we're going to have to clean that up. But first, we'll go and do all of these other edges here the same way. Alright, so ring and connect. Okay, so we should end up now with all 6 of these things having a bubble at the front. There should be a bubble at the back as well. And a now nice hard edge all the way through the entire barrel. Next, we need to change the shape of the barrel a little bit better. So I'm going to go to edge here, and I'll ring the edge, and I'll connect this like that. And now we have nice square beveling where it should be on the gun. I want to look at how round this corner is. This would help if I actually had the reference of the gun open. Let's Colt New Service barrel. Colt New Service barrel. So I actually want to see how round that edge is right there. Again, the trick is to find proper. That's a useful picture that I'm going to save for later. All right, let's look for muzzle instead of barrel. LE, not L. That one's too heavily modified. I got rifling on the outside. That's actually a sick looking gun. Not what I'm looking for though. I want to actually find that outer muzzle. Wrong one, but I can kind of gauge this one. It looks a little bit more round than I think what we're currently using.
You mean the edge of the end of the tip?
Yeah, like this outer edge out here.
It's not.
Yeah, it looks like it's far less sharp than what we've got.
Yeah.
So to fix that, all I have to do is really just grab this edge, and again, convert it to vertices, make sure my edge constraint is turned on, and as I slide it back,
Really?
yep, that rounds that edge out. I can also grab the inner edge loop here, make sure that I'm not moving things, go to my vertices and scale this one along the Z-X. You can see as I scale this down, right, I can make it as round or as less round as I like.
Then what's holding it there then? Oh, it's because you're in reverse mode?
Yep.
Okay.
So again, I'm going to move this one a little bit forward. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better.
I was thinking it kind of looks like sharp.
Yep. So now, with the turbo smooth on this thing, again, because of how it was generated, using a spline from that very first shape, look at the fit. Look at the fit that we're getting here between the barrel and the outer housing. It's absolutely perfect. There's no gap, there's no daylight. It's nice and flush against it. The other thing that's really cool about this is that when we do our normal map, because this isn't just an edge that goes down here and then turns into the barrel, but because this actually goes inside a little bit, there's a little bit of a gap there, that'll read in a normal map and it'll look far more realistic than if it weren't there. So there is the shape of the barrel now in play. And in fact, again, if I look down the barrel, I can see the hole, right, where that's where we have to put our bullets in the cylinder that's going to go in here. That's a beautiful thing. That lines up really, really nice. I won't do the iron sight here. This I would actually do as a separate piece because it's welded onto the front of this thing. That's not made out of the same piece of metal that is the barrel. That would be welded on afterwards. So I'm not going to model that. That essentially all I would do for that is just make a box and then change the shape of it with the turbo smooth, and then again make sure that this lays flat on the barrel itself. What I will do is we'll go and start this next pin here. Now that too has to have a very precise location because it's an object that rotates, and not only does it rotate, but it rotates the entire cylinder. Getting that center edge perfect is going to really determine whether or not we get this thing to look correct. So again, I'll go and select all these edges, hit connect, and then create a shape from this and make sure it's linear. And this thing is going to be called cylinder pin. And now I can go and select that edge. And again, I'll effect, pivot only, center to object. And I'll just rotate this 90 degrees upright. Reset its X form, put a spline on here, and then extrude it so that the extrusion goes upright. Convert it to an editable poly and return it back 90 degrees this way. Reset its X form again, like so. So I now have a pin that's about the right size. Now, if we look at this, it should be exactly the right size. That was the whole point, making that hole the right size in the first place. So now I've got a cylinder that, or a cylinder that's going to be the right size. Now I'm going to bring this cylinder all the way back to where the cylinder begins. I don't know where this thing actually goes inside the body here, but I know that it goes through this other mechanism that's part of the cylinder and it's attached in here somewhere. So I'll bring it back there.
It's attached to the revolver part. So
What's that?
It's attached to the revolver part, and then
yeah, this cylinder.